Welcome, folks. I am Jabby Kaway, joined by Chara Kirk.
What's up?
And we're doing New Rockstars Moon Knight Episode 3 breakdown, Easter eggs, and details you missed. We have our different host this time. I forgot his name. The other guy. I can't remember his name right now, but I like him a lot. So I'm glad to have him for this particular episode. If you guys haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, bell icon, all notifications, and pretty please vote this up to let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching. While you're subscribing and upvoting, make sure to subscribe to New Rockstars. There's a link in the description below if you want to click on that link, give the original video an upvote, and subscribe to them from there. All right, here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. It's me, MT, and this is a breakdown of Moon Knight Episode 3 that made my mind melt, mate. Like, oh my days, oh my moon gods, what is going on? Like, guys, are you seeing what I'm seeing right now? Do you know the possible ramifications that the events of this episode could mean for the future of the MCU?
Can you tell me?
The entire planet went back in time 2,000 years. Sorry, my voice is like this, but this is a big deal. All right, I'm gonna get into what this huge event could mean for the MCU a little bit later, but for now, let us get into all the juicy hidden details that you missed from this visually incredible entry in Steve Grant's wild, mind-bending mystery. And hey, before I continue, make sure to hit up newrockstarsmerch.com so that you can find all of our new cool Moon Knight hoodies and shirts. And all of our cool Moon Knight stuff are there. Just head on over to newrockstarsmerch.com so that you can look cool and wear some cool shirts like this. And remember that this latest Obsession shirt is not going to last forever, so pick it up immediately because it's going to sell out. All right, I love how right off the bat, the episode starts us off with a cut from black that starts off blurry but gets more clear, revealing Layla having her pictures taken for fake illegal IDs. Like, what a great cinematography choice by series director Mohammed Diab and series director of photography Gregory Middleton, because it feels like the audience is waking up from that blackness to an unfocused blurriness, like eyes first waking up and then revealing Layla in focus, very much intentionally reflecting the overall theme of Mark Spector and Stephen Grant constantly waking up from blackouts, a little bit disoriented themselves. And the fact that we begin outside of Mark or Stephen's point of view, which is rare for the series, tells us that there is some legitimacy to his experience, or that Layla might also be experiencing the delusion. And then we get a look at Layla's fake passport to the Arab Republic of Egypt, with the information being edited on a computer screen by a close family forger friend of Layla's, stating that Layla's full name is actually Layla Abdallah El Faoli, and that she was actually an Egyptian born in Cairo on October 28, 1994, on a day when the moon was actually in its waning crescent phase, I might add, which is quite interesting considering Layla's personal choice of murder jewelry in the form of a shoulder-stabbing shaped necklace, which might just hint at a possible family connection with the moon god Khonshu himself, as that necklace could be a family heirloom of sorts. I mean, her middle name Abdallah does mean flower of the god after all, so maybe that's a clue there. And then we learn that this fake passport has an issue date of May 29th, 2019, which heavily implies that Layla herself was not snapped by Thanos in Infinity War, which is also the same case for Mark Spector, as we see from an earlier episode's passport as well. Though we can't 100% take this as a reliable source, since this is a fake ID after all. Being faked again by a close family friend of the Al-Fahulis, played by Barbara Rosenblatt, who is no stranger to comic book TV shows, as she recently appeared on the TV show Gotham as Lydia Biscieri, the bar owner of Lydia's Bar. And while Layla is talking to this forging family friend, she reveals to her that her and Mark Spector once had a place together not 20 minutes away from Stephen's current apartment, where Nemo II is almost assuredly floating at the top of that tank, because he has not gotten food for a very long time. Which could be a reason why Mark Spector could have chosen this location to hide out in the first place, as Stephen Grant, probably to remind him of the love that he's been forced to leave behind as this new Fist of Khonshu. And Layla also reveals that it's been 10 years since her last visit to her homeland of Cairo, which is curious to me considering that she does note later on in the episode that her name isn't the most popular around those parts.
You should be here. Why? Because my name pisses off a few people in Cairo?
So I'm very curious to learn what exactly happened within her family's history to cause all the locals to be giving a family of archaeologists the side eye. I mean,
that's the one thing that when that happened in the show, I was kind of like, oh, that's strange, because the name on her passport that she's using is still that name, El Fauli, right? It didn't make sense to me that she was forging these documents and yet still using her actual name. Like, why would she do that? Why wouldn't she just use a completely rando name? Do you know what I mean? Like, if her name would get her into trouble. And the fact that she hasn't been back into Egypt for 10 years implies to me that there is something pretty major going on there. I mean, I do have some friends who, for whatever reason, they can't go back to where they're originally from. And I imagine that if they ever did, they probably wouldn't use the name, you know, their government name or whatever. And so that's very curious to me. I don't have an answer, but I'm just like, that's weird.
That is Stephen Strange.
She had to be gone for 10 years for a reason, after all. But it might just have to do with Layla's current profession as a type of ancient artifact Robin Hood figure that steals from the antique collecting underground to return those various valuable pieces of history
Indiana
back
Jones.
to their respective cultures, as she believes all of these artifacts to be stolen. A completely not wrong belief also shared by a former antique collector, Eric Killmonger, during his totally normal field trip to a museum that wasn't at all a robbery. And because we know that she deals with black market antiques, this might just mean that she knows the power broker from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, who we already know loves antiques and all like paintings and all that stuff. So
and she did end up in Madripoor as well, right?
Pop up at some point this season, especially since the pirate country Madripoor is literally name dropped a little bit later in the episode.
That's right.
Madripoor, I'm sure you two will have a lot to talk about.
Then the two ladies reminisce about Layla's late father, who was an archaeologist that apparently brought his daughter along on all of his digs, possibly alluding to the dead archaeologist hinted at in the last episode. This, of course, sounding extremely similar to the circumstances of comic Mark Spector's love interest, Marlene Alaran, whose father was gunned down by a crazy mercenary named Bushman during Mark's origin story in the comics. But we also learn from this forger lady that Layla's father liked to call Layla his little scarab, possibly linking Layla and her family to the series MacGuffin, the Golden Scarab, leading to the greatest treasure of all, Robin Williams in the Cave of Wonders. Just kidding, that's another Disney-owned franchise. I mean, the Tomb of Ammit. Like maybe Layla was always meant to be Ammit's true avatar.
Oh.
And then we get the Marvel Studios logo coming in set to some really dope Middle Eastern trap music by DJ Kaboo called Enta, which is actually a bop and a dope way to hint at the faithful portrayal of a modern day Cairo that Moon Knight director Mohammed Diab was extremely keen on delivering, even going as far as calling Egypt's depiction in Hollywood media like, you know, Wonder Woman 1984 disgraceful.
Wow.
His words, not mine. I haven't even seen Wonder Woman 1984, so I can't even hate on that movie. And you know what? After watching how beautifully and differently this episode of Moon Knight captures the vibrant excitement of a 21st century Cairo in a way that I've never seen before personally, this director might just know what he's talking about, because Cairo looks dope as hell in this show.
It does.
You know, Sintel was saying how, I forgot where he told this to me, but he was saying how in this show, there's no color palette that makes Egypt look extreme like you often see with stuff. Like every time American films portray Mexico, for instance, it's always orange or it's got this very absurdly extreme look to it. And then when I went to Mexico, it looked just like it does over here.
Yeah.
It's like it's the same sky. So why is this look? And then every time you see London, it's always got this very washed out look. When you go to London, you get overcast, but it's not like that.
It all boils down to the lens that you're looking through it.
Yeah.
You know, like for a lot of people, probably when they're making these things, they are outsiders. And so what is the lens that you're looking at that through? You're going, oh, I'm going to exoticize this or add on this color palette because this is what it's supposed to be like, right? It looks cool. Whereas when you're actually from there, you're like, no, this is where I'm from. This is what it looks like. This is a modern day Egypt. I think that is so awesome.
I think it stems from like one person doing something and then everyone just imitates it, kind of like, you know, silencers in movies, gun silencers.
Not making any real noise.
Any noise at all, like whispering. That's not how silencers work, and you see it used like that all the time. It's just because one person did it. I think it was in GoldenEye or something. Like they did it there, and then everyone started doing it like that. It's like, no, but that's not it.
Yeah.
We've all been bamboozled. We're all mistaken.
Yeah.
Anyways, when we first meet Arthur Harrow following the Golden Compass to his favorite crocodile queen, I could not help but get the image of Moses guiding his own people through the desert of Egypt in the Judaic scriptures, with the figure of Moses often being drawn as a prominent figure in red. Much like Arthur Harrow seems to be the only person wearing red amongst this group in the desert.
Interesting.
I didn't realize that was red.
Choice. And when we first meet Mark this episode, he's doing exactly what Layla thought he was doing and trying not to get himself killed running around Cairo.
He's probably going to get himself killed running around Cairo.
Parkour.
And when Mark gets into a fight with some dramatic knife fighting guys, with the lead one even tossing a knife up to the camera like some sort of cool guy, giving us a slow-mo zoom in of that knife throw that reminds me of the Wasp dodging knives in the kitchen in Ant-Man and the Wasp. But then we get some really dope knife combat back in the MCU since the amazingness that was that Winter Soldier knife fight from many moons ago. With that,
I don't think those two fights compare. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah.
I don't think those two fights compare even in the slightest. And I think that with what MCU has achieved thus far, watching this again, it's even more disappointing to look at it a second time, how this knife fight just doesn't compare to what already exists. Like,
well, I think it was a good idea. I think when it first started, I was like, oh, we're about to get some cool shit right now. And then it was like, oh, okay, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, like there are some really, really good knife fights. There's a movie called The Hunter or The Hunted or something like that with Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. And there are some excellent CQC knife fights in that. And the fight they just showed, the little snippet of it from Captain America and the Winter Soldier, I'm like, yeah, that, where's that? And I feel like they really could have gone, especially with the allowance for a more mature stuff, violence, whatever. Like they really could have made some interesting stuff here and they just held back, I felt like.
I did read an interesting comment on our reaction where someone was saying like, listen, they're just kind of trying to ease the audience into it because Disney hasn't really done this much of the violence before, and so it's like just a gradual thing, and so maybe by the time we get to Blade, it'll be like full-blown what we want, I
guess. I mean, the thing about it is, I know it was on Netflix, but we had Luke Cage.
Yeah.
We had, Jessica
Jones.
I don't like Jessica Jones. And then we had, of course, my favorite Daredevil.
Yeah.
It's not like people aren't aware that these things exist.
I know, but it's,
and before that we had Blade. Like,
yeah, but they were made by different companies, and so yeah. Who knows? Who knows what their ultimate plan is? But
like, moreover, I can't remember if Moon Knight hit its trajectory of when it was supposed to drop, but Daredevil's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it is now.
So WTF, mate? Like, I don't understand.
Alpha Thug taking the lead, being the actor Jaleel Nassiri.
I did like
that was cool.
Knife skill that made Liam
drawing the ground
sweat during that final battle in the first Taken movie. And then we see Mark even pulling a punch before choosing to slap this young thug over here, which sort of calls back to his other personality's conversation with Arthur Harrow's last episode when he brings up his blatant objection to hurting children.
What about a child? Would she kill a child for something they might do in 30 years? I kind of draw a line there at child murder.
So even though these two are separate personalities, it seems like they have very similar values.
Take him to the ledge.
He's just a kid.
And after Mark blacks out in the middle of that roof fight, we get our first look at waking up from a personality switch from Mark's perspective, as Steve tries to book it out of Egypt in a cab, which, you know, I don't blame him. He's like, all right, I'm in another country again. Time to go home. I love how he was just nonchalant about, like, I did it again. And I thought it was absolutely hilarious when we get the cab driver a little later yelling, "Where's my money?" to Moon Knight, as it felt like it could have been like a slight nod to the famous Moon Knight meme of Mark Spector yelling, "I know you're here, Dracula, you big nerd. Where's my goddamn money?" And then one of the biggest what the moments of the show happens when Mark actually catches up with those culty roof thugs on the street and gets bumped on the head twice. Once by a thug with a blunt object, and once again after his head lands hard on the ground, which seems to cause him to wake up from the actions of an entity that is neither Mark or Steven.
That's
a
right.
version of Mark who seemingly didn't care about getting the information Mark needed out of these people. He just killed them. Literally everyone but this young boy gets gutted by this mysterious new personality. A personality that I hope and believe to be that of Jake Lockley, the street smart New York cab driver, who has, up until this point, been largely absent in the series. And with Moon Knight's mirror cinematography seemingly hinting—
Wait, New York cab driver?
Yeah, it's Jake.
So he's gonna, hey, what are you doing here? He's gonna have a New York, hey, get the coffee.
Well, that would be good, right?
You got a quarter?
Well, that's like very distinguishable, right?
Yeah, it's a very discernible accent from the other two. That'd be interesting to like jump between all three of those.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I mean, if we have a sequence like we did at the end of episode 3, like, can you imagine all three of them talking to each other?
Oh my God.
Just, you know.
It's getting crazy now.
No more violence. Hey, we gotta do what we gotta do. Yeah. Both of you shut up.
At 3 personalities hidden inside this one Mark body, this actually may up ending being the case, as that would be extremely comic book accurate. And of course, before this young boy cuts his red scarf to meet the base Amit in the sky, he says,
"Praise Amit."
much like the agents of MCU's first main cult, Hydra, would yell, "Hail Hydra," before they committed suicide.
Yeah, but that's a very common trope of like following a cult leader of some kind. Like that, I don't think there's any like. Its resemblance to this is just as much a resemblance to Wonder Woman, in fact, because they did the same thing in Wonder Woman, the first one. Someone ate like cyanide or something.
Oh right, yeah.
Like this happens all the time in movies.
Hail Hydra! And then went directly to hell because they were Nazis. But hey, speaking of this boy scarf, a really interesting design detail that I've been noticing with the Moon Knight series is that a lot of Mark and Steven's enemies seem to be adorned in this particular shade
that
of
kind
red.
of red,
this blue scarf and hair, the cops that stopped by Steven's house, the dudes that shot at Steven in Germany, and also Arthur Harrow himself. Hell, even Midnight Man was wearing red, particularly a shade of red similar to that of the Scarlet Witch and her chaos magic, which Arthur has hinted could be playing a factor between both him and Mark. So all of his servants choosing this shade could be indicative of some chaos magic influence in the series. But anyways, Khonshu finally gives us some details about how Moon Knight's healing armor is able to give him a healing factor that rivals Wolverine, with both Mark and Steve proving this by taking several pulls to the torso without passing away during their battle at Mogart's. A battle that reminded me so much of Peter Quill in Avengers Infinity War when Steve Grant calls time out and tells everyone to chill the F out.
We're all worked up. Let's all just like chill the F out.
Everybody stay where you are. Chill the F out.
But anyways, when Mark and Khonshu have their conversation on the cliffside, Khonshu reveals the one thing in the universe that he fears, the wrath of the Council of Gods, which Khonshu later has to face through his avatar inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the 7 wonders of the world, which secretly doubles as a council room for the pantheon of Egyptian gods, as 9 seats for each god avatar can be seen. Though only 5 of the 9, Isis, Tefnut, Osiris, Hathor, and Horus show up for Khonshu's trial after he literally moved the moon to make an eclipse to make this meeting even possible. And Yatzil, avatar to the goddess of music and love, Hathor, played by Native American actress Diana Bermudez, also hints at a hidden, potentially romantic past between Hathor and
That's
Khonshu,
what I was saying.
She says it was not so long ago Khonshu enjoyed Hathor's melodies.
As far as I know, the only melody Khonshu enjoys is the sound of pain.
Which
I just realized how silly it is that he moved the moon. If he actually moved the moon, there would be tsunamis globally.
Oh shit, yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
It would be so bad. The sudden gravitational shift against the Earth. You know about like the warbling of the Earth, right? Because the moon tugs at the Earth. And so the Earth is not like a perfect sphere. It's like it's kind of a little bit misshapen because of the moon, and the moon's gravitational pull is what gives us the tides in the ocean. Yeah. And so like if you just shifted the moon like that at just record-breaking clock speed, you know, it would literally be the most chaotic event since the snap. Like,
and then that's not the only thing that he did. He literally like moved the skies so that they were the same as it was 2,000 years ago. Like, what would be the ramifications of that, really?
I mean, who knows if the universe would even hold together? But
it's a nice idea.
Yeah, this is on par with Superman reversing Earth, like flying around Earth and reversing time because he's spinning the Earth the other way.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, like it's just, you know.
It's cool. It's cool. It's like, you know, Batman has the bat signal, the Council of Gods. They notice when a random eclipse happens that isn't supposed to happen.
Does make sense considering that Khonshu and Hathor have had a romantic past in Egyptian mythology. And considering that Khonshu is the god of the moon and Hathor is also, in addition to music and love, the goddess of the sky, these two were a match made in heaven. Literally made in the heavens of the sky, because you can't have the moon without the sky. But yeah, guys, I don't know about you, but I do not trust Hathor at all. Like,
what?
0%. Not her avatar. Her avatar seems nice. Especially when this flash of white-colored light seems to appear over Harrow's head right before Hathor leaves the mind of Yatzil. Check that out. Slow it down. I definitely feel like the goddess Hathor and Harrow are in cahoots. Like, you can't trust nobody with an H in the front of their name in this show, okay?
Well, I guess that would make more sense of what happens in the episode.
Why would she want to side with Amit though? Like, I don't know.
Actually, you know what though? I don't know. it could make more sense.
Maybe. I mean, that would be a nice little surprise. Like, oh, psych, I told you all this information. I was super helpful. And you know, like, I got you on side only to betray you or to have been working with Harrow all this time or secretly been on his team.
I'm uncertain.
Yeah.
He pointed out something interesting, which is that God left her body and it's just like the person now.
Yeah.
But she obviously has a connection to her.
Well, yeah, of course.
Because she's the avatar.
They all do, yeah.
And so she is an extension of the desires and interests of the god that she represents.
The goddess.
The goddess that she represents. Wouldn't she have his best interests at heart if they had a past together, unless she was vindictive?
Exactly.
Because screw you.
Well, that can happen with God relationships. Like, I'm not as well versed in Egyptian mythology as I am maybe in Greek and Roman, but there's a lot of drama that happens with the gods, and because they're immortal, it goes on for a long time.
I have this feeling that because this goddess of love's love for Khonshu, she could actually be the true villain of this series, trying to create a heaven on earth so her and her banished former lover Khonshu could live together on and look at the stars together.
Diabolical.
Forever. Because, like I said, Hathor is the goddess of the sky, and the sky and the moon are always meant to be together no matter what. Which could be why Khonshu says that he remembers every night, because he is remembering his love for the sky, or Hathor. But anyways, when the leader of the group, Horus,
that makes a lot
says,
of sense.
You've been banished once for nearly exposing us, Khonshu. And you know we despise your garishness, your showy masks and weapons.
we learn that not only do these gods really have no love for Khonshu, but they're also not ones to have actively violent, flamboyant avatars with moon-themed weapons running around the Earth, very much implying that, for now, Moon Knight is the only avatar of his kind. Though I do suspect that Arthur Harrow will end up becoming the Shadow Knight who is in the comics, and, basically just an evil Moon Knight. And we also learn that these gods have all abandoned mankind because mankind has abandoned worship of them, with Khonshu claiming that all of these gods are living in opulence in a place called the Overvoid, better known in the Marvel Comics as the Celestial Heliopolis, a pocket dimension outside the main Marvel universe where the Ennead be ballin' in paradise, something that both Khonshu and Thor 4's Gorr the God Butcher share a problem with, because Gorr does not like that the gods do not help mankind out at all. But anyways, when Mark and Layla are on that purple tinted boat ride catching up,
I have a question for the audience, those of you who are more well versed in Marvel Comics than I am. I remember an X-Men, the animated series, something connected to Phoenix, who was formerly Jean Grey.
Yeah.
There was something like that-ish, where they were dealing with an alien species that looked humanoid, or looked human. I remember like this female character with this almost like those Chinese fans that you...
yeah.
She had like her hair was kind of like that. That's all I remember from that. And it was like they were inside of like a pyramid or a diamond or something. It was like a world within a crystal.
Oh, cool.
I can't remember the plot of that at all, but like that's the first place my brain went to, and so I'm just wondering if I'm completely off my rocker in the comparison there, or if you guys think that's even a little bit related whatsoever. I would love to know in the comments.
But anyways, when Mark and Layla are on that purple tinted boat ride catching up, we get a tiny look into Mark's struggle with his mental illness, with him telling Layla that he's been struggling with it for a very long time, until something happened recently that caused him to lose the control that he's mastered over it over the years. With that something very likely being his first meeting with Khonshu, who probably messed with his brain chemistry. And we finally get a look at Gaspard Ulliel's Anton Mogart, also known as Marvel's Midnight Man, a villain in Moon Knight's Rogues Gallery who loved to steal valuable things, not for the money, but simply for the sake of having them. Kind of like the Collector from Guardians of the Galaxy 1. In Mogart...
Or that little creature in Newt Scamander's pocket.
Oh yeah, that little thing, I forgot what it is.
He always likes to collect coins.
Yeah.
earns the title of Midnight Man in the comics simply because of his preference to strike at the dead of night at midnight for all of his crimes. Which is why we see Khonshu saying tick-tock over a clock that just struck midnight at the very end of this incredible action sequence. And of course, the late Gaspard would have a tribute from Marvel at the very end of this episode. Rest in peace, buddy. And speaking of tick-tock on the clock, guys, I'm not sure if you missed this, but it kind of seems like Khonshu, in an effort to, return the stars to the position that they were 2,000 years in the past, when Senfu first marked the tomb of Ammit, thought that the only way to do that was to change the sky itself by turning back time, which could be the reason for the beautiful light show at the episode's end. It's literally the stars in the sky going back in time. And how exactly can Khonshu do this? By manipulating gravity, something that the moon is heavily associated with, and possibly why Khonshu was able to effortlessly cause an eclipse earlier on in the episode by moving the moon. And guys, if this is the case and the Earth has been sent 2,000 years into the universe's past, do you guys know what this means? This means that the Infinity Stones are back, Asgard is back, Xandar is back, Hela is back, Ego, the living planet, is back. The entire universe is just 2,000 years younger. Like,
oh my God. What? I didn't even think that.
That's making a lot of assumptions, though, isn't it?
Yeah, because here's what I was thinking, right? I just thought that it was a thing that he did, and then as soon as he's gone, it just goes back to what it was before. But if that's the case, and the universe has gone back in time 2,000 years, then maybe all this stuff is possible.
That doesn't add up to me, though. Okay, so let's try to break this down a little bit. So is the Earth considered like inside of a bubble that's unaffected by the rejuvenation of the universe around it 2,000 years, the regression of 2,000 years? That's what's confusing me, because I'm like, there are events that have transpired connected to Earth that have been reversed. Like 3 Infinity Stones at one point in time were on Earth, but like, how, you see what I'm saying? Like, so this
is way outside of my pay grade.
Like, this is kind of breaking my brain a little bit. There's no way that this sticks to this timeline and it maintains that it's 2,000 years ago. In the Avengers films, I can't remember, but they never bothered to establish whether or not everything takes place in the Milky Way galaxy. They never said that out loud.
That's like, just an assumption, I suppose.
All the space stuff could literally be on Andromeda or another galaxy. Like, it could be anywhere. It literally could be anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm so confused right now.
Yeah.
His statement right now hurt my head a little bit, because I'm like, wait, hold on. There's a lot of connections breaking here.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like upheaving the universe between Doctor Strange in the Spider-Man and No Way Home, and then Kang the Conqueror or his variant, and now this. I'm like, how is anything holding together? How is dark matter or dark energy able to keep anything contained at this point with all these things just upheaving all the time? Okay, it's just moving on. Let's not think about it too hard. I think it'll just hurt if I just think about it. It's almost like this is I have to go at this the way I went at Terminator 1. It doesn't make sense, and the story's going to keep on going.
Yeah. I'm not thinking about it too hard, and I'm like, okay, maybe there's more explanation here.
I mean, and there might be a deeper explanation if you. Okay, let's use the Terminator as an example, actually. So a while ago, my friend justified it to me, going, the reason it makes sense is because it is always. It will always be that Kyle Reese went back in time, made a baby with Sarah Connor, which is John Connor.
Yes.
And that loop has always existed. That's why it makes sense.
And that will always be. Yeah.
That's why it's like, to, a normie on the ground, that looks fucking bizarre. But if you're a 4-dimensional, 5th-dimensional creature looking at that, like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. Like, yeah, that's the loop there.
That's just how it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's just the programming. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe Khonshu reversing the universe 2,000 years younger has always been.
Yeah, you can't change it. I forget what that's called again.
It's a constant.
No, in the What If episode with Doctor Strange, episode 4. I forget what it was called. If it was like a nexus point or a something point, a fixed point that cannot be changed.
Gotcha.
So perhaps this is one of those. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, guys, in my opinion, this is potentially one of the biggest things to happen to the MCU since the snap. Mostly because we see Khonshu turned to stone before he can put this guy back where he found it. Like, man, oh man, can I not wait to see how this could potentially change the entire MCU game for Phase 4, because this is freaking nuts, man. Freaking nuts. And finally, we end the episode with the revelation that not only did Arthur Harrow truly enjoy hurting in the name of Khonshu, but that Khonshu was the very reason why he chose this weird path of healing, because Khonshu was the one who gave him a taste for blood and destruction. And he even goes as far as to thank the imprisoned Khonshu for his victory to come. And man, Ethan Hawke can act when you forget that he's straight up sassing a statue of a bird for like 60 seconds. But anyways, that is it for this breakdown of Moon Knight episode 3. What did you guys think of this episode? Like, do you guys think that I'm crazy and the Earth didn't actually go back in time 2,000 years? Because it looks like that's what happened. Let us know what you thought in the comment section below.
That whole thing with the Earth going back, I guess my brain kind of goes, okay, so the Earth went back, but so everyone on Earth didn't go back in time, right?
Right, because in a bubble.
Right.
So a long time ago, I was working in casting as a tech person, and my boss had asked me to make this adjustment on a TV. And I was like going through the manual and trying to figure out, like, it wasn't turning on or something like that. And I was pushing the button, checking the power in the building and everything. And I was like, what's wrong with this particular? I was really overthinking the shit out of this. And I come into the room and it's on. I'm like, how'd you do that? My boss says, you're just too smart for this shit. It was like a little switch right here. I was like, oh my God. I was looking at all like the big picture stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I'm fairly certain that if you just went to an astronomer, they could tell you what the stars looked like back then. And Khonshu decided to reverse the universe 2,000 years to show you the layout of the stars.
I think that's kind of what he was saying. It's like not the most efficient way, perhaps. I'm sure that, Layla has a pretty cool looking iPad-like contraption there that maybe it could do the calculations and go back in time, take it back in time 2,000 years and remap the stars for how they would have looked.
I'm fairly certain that people were like, there were astronomers back then tracking the stars. You had your North Star and everything like that. Like, people who were sailing the seas, they had to know the stars in order to figure out where the fuck they were going, right? And so, like, I'm pretty sure we've got records of where the stars were in the sky at that time.
But, like, do they have time to do that? Perhaps, me saying, then maybe that's not the most
Khonshu is going to risk it all, including imprisonment, potentially, forever, inside of a little statue in order to reset the universe 2,000 years, rather than just going, you could probably just talk to a guy who knows a guy, maybe look at Wikipedia. Like, I'm pretty sure you can just like find this data.
But how long would that have taken though?
An hour?
You think? To find that you think that information is so readily available?
If she's resourceful enough to get a fake passport, I'm pretty sure she's resourceful enough to connect herself to an astronomer who knows that data. Just go to Neil deGrasse Tyson, he'll tell you. I'm pretty sure it's not that hard to track down. I'm pretty sure we know that data. I don't know, I'm speaking out of pure ignorance here. I don't know, man.
I feel like it would take longer than an hour to figure that shit out.
Neil deGrasse Tyson was watching Titanic, and he's like, those weren't the stars that evening. We know the stars that evening. Those weren't the stars. And he literally told that to James Cameron, and James Cameron went back and fixed it for the 3D release of Titanic.
Wow.
Somehow, Neil deGrasse Tyson knew, as soon as he looked at those stars, they're wrong.
Should have called Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So, exactly.
2,000 years is a really long time, though.
80 years is a really long time. Neil deGrasse Tyson wasn't alive back then.
I know, but I feel like it's probably easier to
hold on.
find
100
out.
years now, even 110 years now.
Yeah, but that's probably easier to find out or do the calculations for than 2,000. What do I know? I don't do maths. I don't do astronomy. Science. Maybe you're right. But like the god said, Khonshu does have a certain propensity for flair. And so
that he does.
What is more dramatic than being like, excuse me while I just, adjust the skies back 2,000 years? Super dramatic.
And potentially rip apart the universe while you're at, the galaxy anyway. I don't know.
That's why it has to be imprisoned. Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is, Marvel at this point, it dances between science fiction and pure total fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, it goes back and forth between the two, at will. Just whenever it feels like.
It's fine.
It is fine.
Yeah.
It is fine. It's just that sometimes when you're like going one direction and you're like trying to and then other times you gotta go, it's fine.
It's fine.
Just let go.
Don't think about it too hard. Just find the switch.
How did Captain America put all the stones back is what I want to know. How did he put all those stones back?
He went back in time and he did it.
And then he faced Red Skull where Black Widow got killed and they didn't have a conversation. He just dropped it in the pool. He didn't even know where it went. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's it gonna do when he faces? Just don't explain it.
Yeah.
Credits.
Yeah. End credits.
Like,
this is too much, you guys. Just don't think about it too hard. He did what he did. Okay, he's Captain America. It happened.
As you go along, there's a lot of plot holes and scientific plot holes, and you just sort of go, hey, it's a cartoon. It's fine.
I think the most important question is, did you have fun?
It was definitely a visual feast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had fun.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it.
It's visually very stimulating to see him reversing the skies.
Yeah.
It's just when you think too hard about it, you're like, that's dumb. Like, that's so dumb. Like, why would you do that? Unless I'm completely wrong and we have no record of what the stars were like back then. But in 2,000 years, like if you said 10,000 years, I'd be like, okay.
Well,
you probably got me there.
You gotta think about 2,000 years ago, perhaps there was a lot of information in the library at Alexandria, which we know burned down. We know that
500 years ago. The Library of Alexandria is Oh, that's right. You're right. Okay. So he didn't have to go all the way back. He could have just gone like, 501 years and then.
But you know what I mean? Like so much information is lost. You're
right.
assuming that
you're right.
like everyone's keeping records.
You're right. The Library of, that's actually a really strong case that you just made, which is the Library of Alexandria burned down and we might have lost some of those records. That's a good case.
And that's just one instance of losing information.
No, because the stars in Egypt look different than the stars in Greece, even though the same stars are the positioning of it.
Yeah, that's why when you do astrology, when you find out your I knew that would piss you off.
Okay, so anyway, this was fun. This was fun to like go through and learn a little bit more, and seeing like the connections that these characters have to like who they might end up looking like and whatnot, especially Arthur as the night.
Midnight. No, that's not him. That's
whatever the character. I mean, he looked dope in the comic. I was like, whoa, cannot wait to see that. I really, really hope Ethan Hawke doesn't die in this season. I hope he's here to stay for at least a little bit as a villain.
He's so good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like he's one of my favorites. Anyway, enjoyed this a lot. You guys hopefully did too. And let us know your feelings in the comments below. I'm Jabby Coy. This is
Achara Cook.
Peace out.